Party started. So if you are just joining us, welcome to the Influencers Journey Show. My name is Suzanne Hart, and this is lovely social media strategist Taria Hodge. Our topic today is 3 reasons thought and purpose fuel your outcomes. 3 reasons thought and purpose fuel your outcomes.
Mm.
So, as you were talking, Taria, you said something really neat just before we started, like just diving in and talking to those who are watching. You said, you used to think that purpose was distant, like it was out
Yeah.
there. And what's really interesting about that, it's both here and out there.
Mm.
And you might be listening going, how can it be here and out there? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah. So one of the things, like I said, in preparing for our segment today, we had some really beautiful questions that came up in our conversation around our topic today. And so I think the first thing that I really want us to start off with is talking about concentration and how concentration plays a big factor, a huge factor, and would allow you to lead into your purpose. And so, like I said, I was that person, who spent a lot of times, years, to be totally honest, having this feeling that I didn't know what my purpose is. And it was one of those things that bothered me, like, oh my gosh, I don't have a purpose. What's going to happen? No purpose. Am I really going to make it on this thing? And I had to, learn a little bit more about that. But you introduced something in our conversation last week that I've never heard about before, and that was concentration. So I'm going to ask you to start us off there, and let's just unpack it from there.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting about this is, whenever in my experience, someone's talking about their purpose, you'll kind of see them, they're kind of searching their minds, they're searching the world, they're thinking they got to be still and look outside themselves and all this thing to find their purpose. And it's kind of my learn is it's kind of the very opposite of that.
Mm.
We all probably have our purpose somewhere in us, and we it's like it gets peeled open, unfolded. And how concentration contributes to that is concentration is your ability to focus on something for an extended
Mm.
period of time. And so how many of you listening have taken on a position at a new place, a new job, and you're focused and you got to learn everything about it. You want to be good at it, so you dissect it, you study, you learn, you grow. Well, that's concentration. And what you're doing is you're putting in this concentrated effort in
Hmm.
this one area so that you have a level of mastery. What's really interesting about this, and we do it all the time and we're not really paying attention, is as we do that, we dispose of certain things. Don't like to do that. That's not for me. And we narrow in on other things and we say, well, wherever I'm going next, I need to have this, right? And so when they talk about concentration tree, they're talking about your ability to focus long enough to create mastery in areas.
Mm.
You know what you kind of are called to do and the things that you're not. And we know because oftentimes we'll people will start asking us for, can you help me with this? And it's all, there's a theme
Hmm.
because they're sitting and they're noticing your brilliance, your calling, your this thing. We don't explore that until we concentrate and focus and decide we're going to get masterful at something. Most people think that like things that are our purpose is we fall into it. I'm born a dancer. I'm born with music in me. I'm born this
Yeah.
way. Yeah, we have some stuff like that. For many of us, it's the journey of concentration and the journey to mastery that has us go, I didn't know I was good at this. I didn't know I loved this. I didn't know this was for me until I had to master it.
Yeah. So, what I really love about what you're saying, I think that most people, I won't say everyone, but most people who start off, especially on their entrepreneurial journey, has this question, because I hear it a lot. I know I had the question, and I hear it a lot, from clients. I heard a lot from colleagues who are just stepping into the space. How do I know what I'm supposed to be doing in my business, or how do I get clear? So even one of the things that, we talk a lot about and we do here in our business, we talk about our divine clients, we talk about building our programs, and we teach people, how to do those things. And so, especially in my space as social media, it's one of the things that come up all the time. Like, how do I really get clear on all of these things? Because it ties in to overall purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you're saying, is that you have to be able to focus long enough. You have to be able to give yourself the opportunity to try different things, so you'll know and understand what's for you and what's not for you, and in the lane that you want to run in. And so, as I'm listening to you, one of the things that's coming up for me, I started off in the space of social media. And so anyone knows, like, social media is like this huge, big thing. But one of the things that I got present to, as I gave myself the opportunity to learn and to be honest, there were parts about social media that I absolutely love and I got excited and I got lit up about. And then other parts of social media, not so much. But I would not have known that if I didn't stay focused long enough and give myself the opportunity to explore those things, to find out what I liked, what I didn't like, eliminate or not do the things that I like, and then, focus and concentrate and then run in my lane, thus operating more in my purpose.
And so what's really beautiful about that is this whole process of focus, um discarding, course correcting, getting there. And I was talking in the mastermind, and you're one of the members of the mastermind, and I was telling people, and even in our freestyle program,
Mm-hmm.
that I and you, we rewrite it every single year. Every single time before we teach it, we're shifting and changing and rewriting. And that's the act. That's what happens when you do concentrated focus. Is you go, you teach, you collect the new data, you say, how does this get us closer to where we want to go?
Yeah.
And then we course correct. So remember, I said that purpose is present in future. Well, purpose, you remember the title is outcome. So we have an outcome in our mind of what we want our students to get. We have a purpose. We have this desire for them. And every time we teach, we're in the present and collecting the information in the present so we can course correct to deliver better in the future. And it's that alignment and it's that process that has us get clearer and clearer and clearer on who we're supposed to be in the marketplace. What's our purpose in the marketplace? Who are we called to serve? And how are we called to serve them? And for me, I think over time, you get more and more and more focused, and then you find yourself concentrated in this narrow thing that you're now sitting going, you know what? Everything in my life prepared me for this. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's that concentrated effort and moving and concentrating and moving and concentrating and taking the learn from this place and the learn from that place and the gift from this place. You bring it all together, and then suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I was made for.
Yeah, I love it. And that's what it is being able, like I said, and then as you're saying too, to give yourself the opportunity, to go on that journey where you're constantly, taking a look at things, you're figuring things out, you're learning, you're growing, and then that pulls you more in a direction to where you're supposed to be, where you're called to be, to achieve those outcomes, those goals that you have set up. Now, I want to backtrack just a little bit, because I was having this conversation this week in my mastermind as it regards to how, you know, we handle failure. And I know that that has been one of the big things for me, being able to reframe, my conversations around failure and what failure, how to hold what we term as failure, because now I've learned to reframe it. So it's
Mhm.
no longer failure for me. So thanks to you, my mindset mastery mentor. That's the work that I get a chance to do, personally, one-on-one with you, as we're building out our influencers journey for ourselves and others. But the question comes up, like, how do you do the reshaping, and taking a look as you move through these spaces and you're trying things and you're figuring things out, and then you get to the place where some things just quite don't work. They don't feel good. But how do we come back and just take a look at that thing that we call failure and reframe it? And how does it play in to your purpose?
Well, you remember, well, let's go back to focus concentration. And the moment you focus and concentrate on something for an extended period of time, you are going to experience failure.
Mm,
Right? And if you think of any inventor, scientist, um, person who's done anything of significance, they talk about the many times they failed before this thing got to be what it was supposed to be, before it worked the way they wanted. Imagine if they internalize failure as I'm no good, I'm not supposed to be doing this, and I'm done.
yeah.
And many of the things that we love today, we wouldn't have access to. So part of it is really understanding that failure is an opportunity to examine and evaluate what you just did, discard what's not useful or
Mhm.
what didn't work in the process, and continue doing what did work. And then ask yourself great questions about what didn't work and what did work to decide what to do next. So I always say that when you fail and you fall down, make sure to pick something up on your way out. Grab the lesson, grab the enlightenment, grab the all the different pieces that help you move to the next step. Not if you don't want to fail, you're actually standing still. You're not doing anything. So I know when I had my fear of failure, I spent a lot of time standing in the same place, totally frustrated, and trying to figure out, how do I do this?
Mm,
And I finally realized that the how only is available when I start moving.
right.
It doesn't matter if I start moving in the wrong direction. It doesn't matter if I'm totally off course, because the minute I bang into something, I've got data that says on course, off course.
Mhm.
You need to go in a different direction. You need to do something new. And I wouldn't have had that if I was standing still.
Mhm.
I wouldn't. So, almost any catastrophe, anything that's happened in your life, if you choose to look at it as an opportunity to learn rather than fail, then you've got access to what's going to move you forward. The other thing, Sharia, that's really, really interesting is I want to talk about character.
Mm.
Yeah, I want to talk about character. So, do you ever notice that people who are in their purpose, walking on purpose, have clarity of mind and soul and body? They also have highly developed character,
Mhm.
right? They know who they are, they know what they're committed to, they know what they believe, they know what they value, they're clear on what they will do, and they're clear on what they won't do. They know what they stand for. Clear. Failure is the cultivating of character.
Oh.
Failure is this piece that has, it's almost like the world is asking us, how much do you want this? Who do you need to become to get this? How do you need to grow to become that person? How do you need to transform? And every failure is the chiseling of this character and the development of this person who can actually be on purpose, hold the purpose, and be responsible for the purpose. Because the person who started and the person who ended on the other side are never the same person. That's what failure does for us.
Yeah. So my brain is going like 100 knots per hour, right? And here's why. So going back to that time in my life where, like I said to you, that when I looked at the people around me, there was only a handful of people that I could identify. I'm not saying that there were more, but clearly for me that stood out, that I felt like knew their purpose and operated in their purpose. And I think you just nailed it. The thing that I was seeing that I did not know what it was at the time. So it was that clarity.
Yeah.
So they were very clear, first of all, in who they are in the world. They're very clear on their values, and so the things that, or people and things that came up that went against those values, they had little or no time, for those things. And those things, shape the things that they do. It shaped the projects that they took on, the people that they chose to network and collaborated with, and everything. And I was just like, oh, yes, that's it. That's the missing piece that I did not know back there, that I couldn't quite put my finger
Yeah.
on. And to hear you say two things: number one, learning that it all shapes our character, because our character, like I'm learning, is the sum of our habits, right? And how we show up in the world. And the second thing is how failure helps us, you know, cultivate that and understand and navigate through those waters. So I have a thing now that I'm practicing to tell myself is, don't make it mean more than it is.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
So that's the thing that, I realized that, I was doing, is how I hold a failure, right? I would make, a learning moment mean a whole bunch of things about Taria. And you're absolutely correct. When I sit and I hold it that way, then I don't want to move because I don't feel good about myself. I'm
Yeah.
actually beating myself up. I'm so hard, and I'm telling myself all of these not so good things, and it keeps me stuck in the area. And so now when I feel myself going into, that feeling, my thing is, don't make it more than it is.
You highlighted something really, really key, because what we see on and in a person who is on purpose and knows their purpose is they walk through life with intention.
Hmm.
They know what they're up to in the world, and everything feels intentional. And every day, and it feels like every day and every moment, they're on purpose. They're in intention. And it takes a lot of cultivation of character
Yeah.
to be in intention all the time. Because as you said, if you interpret failure as I am a failure versus in this moment something didn't work,
Yes.
what do I need to learn? You will be out of, and you become, if you hold it as I am a failure, you're no longer in intention.
Yeah.
And you're no longer intentional because you're disruptive, and you're having your adult pity party and your
Yeah.
adult temper tantrum.
Yes.
And so your energy is no longer focused. It's spread. Like, what
Yeah. He dispersed it.
having your adult temper tantrum and pity party, your mind's bouncing all over the place. You're having private discussions about yourself and about other people and what da 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 da. You're not focused.
Yeah.
And so one of the things about really learning to concentrate and to manage your energy, it's about staying in intention. And when we are in intention, we are better able to locate that purpose, find that purpose. And I always remind myself that, oh, this is about who I'm required to become.
Yes.
This moment right here, where I want to have my pity party and my little temper tantrum and my poor me moment, not very productive. I know it's human, but not very helpful, because right now I'm being grown and transformed into the person who can be on purpose.
Yeah. Absolutely love it. And so, like I said, that's my go-to now.
Good.
Don't make it more than what it is. And what am I required to learn in this moment? Like, what's the lesson here? What am I supposed to learn? And then the minute I ask myself that question, like you're saying, it shifts the perspective. Then I'm on to figuring out, okay, what do I have to do next?
And,
So I'm
and and you know it's really interesting because we've sat in both of us in both seats, like, oh, poor me, and then what, what am I supposed to learn? And what's really interesting about that is when you are in poor me, energetically, you feel the energy of like wah, 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 right? And then the moment you start asking, what am I supposed to learn? How am I supposed
Mhm.
to grow?
Then
You'll
you get excited.
come back and we'll get back together, and you're like, oh, I'm so excited. I found it. I learned. Oh my God.
So it goes back to the concentration part. Like, leave me alone. Don't talk to me. Like, I gotta go figure this out. Like, I'm focused right now.
Right. And that's what we're really talking about, is that it's that growth and transformation that only comes from intention, focus, and
Yeah,
the building of character that only occurs through failure and challenge in difficult moments.
yeah,
I
yeah.
become I begin to know who I am. I begin to know what I'm about, and I begin to know what I stand for.
Love it. All right. So I got another question for you.
Ah,
So, and this was so interesting when we were preparing for the show, this question. And I was like, you sure we want to say that? Yes, we want to ask this question directly how it is. So why a lazy and unproductive person will never find their purpose?
I know the question harsh, but it's true. It is true. You know, first of all, let's go back to, you cannot find your purpose by just standing
Mhm,
still and doing nothing. Purpose is something that's found through action.
mhm,
It's found through challenge. It's found through focused energy. It's found through intention, because purpose is what we grow into. And so I'm a believer that my purpose is always in me. It's been in me for since I was a little girl. I had to grow into and develop into the person who could hold and handle that purpose. That required me to be on purpose, intentional,
mhm.
and out in the world doing, trying, creating, um, focusing on new things, learning, expanding, and growing. So it makes sense that a person who's lazy, a person who um, is not willing to focus their energy on a thing, will not find purpose. The other thing is that um, laziness is not it, it is leaving the mind to drift and
Yeah.
wander, right? It's giving your mind over to TV and all those things. And when we start to do this, we're not intentional at all, and we're allowing our mind to be influenced by society's opinions, by society's um, flavors of the day, by society's thoughts, by society's all these things. And we've gone through 2 really challenging years.
Yeah.
And if you weren't managing your influences and keeping yourself focused and on purpose, you're drifting all over the world thinking the world's going to hell. This is happening, that's happening, living in fear, living in anxiety. There's no way you're going to find your purpose. So when we say lazy, it's not just physically lazy, but lazy in your
Right.
mind, in your thinking. Are you intentional about how you move through the world? So
Mhm.
that's the first part. And then unproductive, the word's intentional, and I love language. Have you ever met a busy person?
Yes. I have been a busy person.
Right, from here to there to here to there. They are on every committee, in everybody's business, available for everything, but accomplishing nothing. And their plate is always full, However, their plate is not intentionally full, it's just full. So they look like life is big and grand. And if you watch them over time, you'll notice that they're in the same place for many years doing the same stuff. They're busy. A productive person is someone who is moving through the world in intention.
Yeah.
And yes, it may appear that they're doing a lot, but they're not in the energy of busy. They're in the energy of focus, concentration, and they're outcome driven. This is what I'm creating today. This is what I want to get done today. This is what I'm focusing on today. And it's those people that will find purpose, because when you're moving, when you're productive, production is all about outcomes and forward movement. Busy is about scattered energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we focus our energy and we move from outcome to outcome to outcome to outcome, we are creating an environment where we must transform,
Yeah.
where we must grow, and where we must uh, find, discard, harness, cultivate, nurture, all those things. And what, for many people, what they're seeing is there's a narrowing of focus. And then they get to this place where it's like, this is the thing.
Yeah.
This is what I'm here for. This is it. I feel my best. I feel alive. I feel like this is here. And it can be season to season. Remember, I stay where I feel on purpose until I don't.
Yeah.
And usually it's because I've outgrown that season and that purpose.
Yeah. I love it. And two things are popping up for me as, we're really unpacking that last question. And so I just had the opportunity to recently read The Six Habits of Growth by Brendan Burchard. And it was really interesting that he listed purpose as one of the habits.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, that's really interesting that you could look and frame purpose as a habit. And he said, like, essentially the same thing that we're talking about right now is like every day, how do you get up intentional? How do you, even if you are on the process of identifying what the far thing is, you have the opportunity every single day that you get up to put into action and be in intention, which, once again, once you're operating in intention, then you're operating on purpose. You're in your purpose. Now, you also said something that I can't let this moment pass without bringing it back to social media. And I think that this conversation is so important in the climate that we have today as it pertains, to social media, and how social media can be that distraction if you let it.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes, it is exactly what you said. If you are allowing influences that are not the right influences, they could actually detract you and pull you away from where you want to be. It could it could disrupt your concentration. And so I know for me, there's times when I have to like check people in my circle, and I also have to check myself when I'm on social media. So is the conversation that I'm about to participate in right now, is this a conversation that's going to keep me on purpose? Is it going to keep
Yeah.
me on track? Is it going to keep me intentional? Or is it going to put me in a space that will divert my attention, divert my focus, and then I'm operating on something else that has nothing else to do with me, doesn't have
Yeah.
anything to do with where I want to go, but I have just expended this whole entire amount of energy to something that's not serving me and my purpose and where I want to go. And then also, like you said, being lazy, and the lazy in the mind, physically too, but also lazy in the mind. So how are you sitting down and paying attention to your consumption? What
Yeah.
are you consuming every day? Especially when you're on social media sites, and it's a whole barrage of stuff. So do you find yourself going down these rabbit holes with content and things that have nothing to do with your purpose and what your purpose to do. And this is so, Suzanne, this is so good. It's like I'm so excited I can't get the words out because we see it all the time. So, how many times have someone shared a video with you or shared content with you? And then before you know it, you're spiraling down. And then when I say spiraling down, the content that you've just consumed changes everything that you feel inside, from your emotions, to your thought process. And you were about to work on something big, but because this thing has been introduced into your space, your attention has now been diverted, and before you know it, you've talked yourself out, of getting started or staying on track with what you're supposed to be doing because you got caught up in
Mhm.
somebody else's something,
You
you
know
know?
what's really important about what you're saying, and I love that you brought it back to social media, because one of the other things is when I am on purpose and I know what I'm up to in the world and who and what I am called to do, it's also reflected in what I post, how I
Mhm.
post, what I say, and so what I post is in alignment with my brand, with my purpose, with my mission, what I'm up to in the world, whether it be video, whether it be written, whether it be quotes, all that wonderful stuff. And what I find is that the more on purpose and the more intentional I become and the more vocal I become about it, the less people will send me stuff that's out of alignment.
Mm.
And what I find most interesting is people who are around me or know what I do. They'll almost like, if like, I remember when I'm big into health and wellness. People will apologize to me about what they're eating in front of me, and I'd be like, I don't even understand that, or they'll make an excuse because it's out of alignment of what I do. So they're almost like apologizing for putting whatever they're going to consume in front of me, like I'm going to consume. No, it makes no mind to me. But that's when you're in alignment with your purpose. People will talk to me and they'll say, I know, that's not what I should be saying. Well, you can say whatever you want. That's not what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And so by how people govern themselves,
Yeah.
that you are not only that you're walking on purpose, but your expression in the world
Right.
aligns with your purpose. And I think it's so key that what you're talking about, where the way you manage where you put your time, you manage what takes your energy, you manage all these things so you can stay in intention and on purpose, is key. But it takes a constant awareness. And that's
Yeah.
why a person who's lazy and drifting can't just can't do it, because it's easy to get off path.
Yeah.
And I tell people, a mind that is not mastered and trained, like, and it's a process, it's a practice, will drift to negative places. It'll go to where the world is pulling us. And unfortunately, we live in a society where the things that are most prevalent are the things that pull us into these
Right.
negative places. And we're required to manage that so we can put good and uplifting and new things into the world that are of service.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm just going to say this last thing about social media and then we're going to continue. But it's one of the things that I've learned how to put into practice. Clean up your stuff, like clean up your stuff. And when I say clean up your stuff, I say clean up your stuff, but I like how Russell Brunson says it. Like when you're on social platforms, like really go through, take a look at the people who you are following, and if they're not in alignment to your purpose and where you want to go, then you want to unfollow those accounts. So I have this conversation a lot more times than I would like to have the conversation. Is that people send me stuff and they're like, did you not see that? Like, no. Like, seriously, my timeline does not give me that. Whether I'm on Facebook, whether I'm on Instagram, my timeline does not reflect those things because that's not what I am out there
Yeah.
drifting and searching and looking for. So the algorithm doesn't have the opportunity to show me all of that stuff. So it says to me, like I could tell now where people are and where people are sitting, like in their mindset
Yeah.
from the content that they consume and the things that they share, because that's what social media is going to do. So if we are operating that way, it's going to continue to show you more of those things, and the impact of that is, like you said, you would think that the world is going to hell in a basket, and if you feel or think that the world is going to hell in a basket, then why do anything? And then before you know it, you're not doing anything. You're off course with your
Mhm.
purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.